Welcome to New Hampshire Politics with John Burt. I'm John Burt. I want to thank you for joining me, and today we have a special guest back from New Boston, and it's Representative Keith Ammon, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here.
Yes. And I normally don't date the show, but today is Pearl Harbor Day, December 7th.
Correct.
And it was also, we got sworn in today. And you know one thing that I've heard, and I did ask Dan Itza, and he's our constitutional guy, so I'm assuming he's correct. Mm-hmm. Last night at midnight, there's no state reps or no senators in the state. In the state.
For that brief period of time, there is no government.
Yes, basically.
Yeah.
And then we got sworn in, what was it, 11 o'clock, 11:15 today on the 7th.
I'm surprised the sun came up at all.
Well, that's what
in the morning.
Well, that's what I would thought, because I asked Dan Itza and a few, I said, well, what happens if something happened? I mean, who would save us?
Yeah.
And he says, you're on your own.
Well, the governor is still in office, and the executive council is still in office. So there is some...
but what can they, well, yeah, I guess.
The governor could call out the guard or,
That's true.
Yeah. I think they get sworn in January, correct? Kristen Sununu will be.
Oh, okay. So Maggie Hassan is still the governor.
Right, and that's why she presided today.
Okay.
But you're right, there is no House or Senate, so.
Huh. So for about,
at least the House,
about 11 hours.
Yeah. Yep.
The public is just,
on your own. You're on your own.
Yeah. Yeah. Make sure you go. Lock and load on the 7th. Or whenever that Wednesday is, the first Wednesday of December.
Yeah.
Every other year.
There's a brief period. Yeah.
Yeah. Make sure that you got plenty of ammo in case things go to heck. That's what I tell everybody. And we do have not a new speaker, but Speaker Sean Jasper got reelected.
Yeah.
During caucus a week ago, he barely pulled it off with 109 Republicans voting for him, and Lori Sanborn, which I did support, got 104. And
it was a close vote. And,
it was.
Yeah, so that was caucus. We're allowed to talk about caucus, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhat.
When we're in caucus, we're not allowed to mention it.
Yes, yeah. We're not supposed to take videos and all that.
But we can discuss it to some degree.
Yeah. And what I was, what I was really happy about, because I know the viewers, I've talked about them. I mean, I think you talked about it with Burt and, Jason Osborne, the other people that have been on the show. There was a huge division. In this year, Speaker Jasper has really shown, and we've shown it also, that with Governor Sununu in the corner office, we can get a lot of great things passed.
Yeah.
So instead of this infighting of the 104 to 107, which, the past 2 years, like, Sean Jasper said, he was on defense all the time.
Because of the contention that...
Yeah.
And I guess there would have been contention either way. Let's say, and this is all inside baseball, maybe the people at home don't follow it as closely as you and I do. But, 2 years ago we had a contentious, it's called Organization Day. That happened to me today.
Yes.
And we just got back from there. But 2 years ago, an Organization Day is the day that the House organizes itself. Yeah. And one of the main things that we do is elect, first we get sworn in, we take the oath, and then we elect, as a body, we elect one individual to be the Speaker of the House.
Yes.
And prior to today, the two main parties, both had caucuses and chose, so a party is really a private institution. It's not a governmental institution.
Yes, that is.
So we have our private caucuses and discuss candidates privately, separately as the Republicans and the Democrats. And out of the caucus last week, Sean Jasper emerged as the chosen individual from the caucus. But that whole process had its own drama and was a very close.
Yes. So
Sean needed to get, I believe, 107.
It was 107 he had to have to win.
I believe that's the number. So that's 50% plus one of those present.
Yeah.
I think we had 212 present.
Yes, and today we had 387. You know
That's
what?
high, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what's going to be sad is we out of 400 reps, 387 showed up today. That'll be the highest number ever for the next 2 years.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, only about 350 to 360 show up every week.
Well, trying to set a date with 9 of your friends to go out to dinner, and
Yeah.
organize your schedules. Like that's, so sometimes people have to work,
Yeah.
or their kid is sick, or their
Yeah.
car breaks down, or you know
Yeah.
this. So it's
So I wonder what the percentage
Yeah.
is if 50's, well, about 40 is missing to 50 is missing every time. So what would that be out of 400? That'd be what, 20% or not even 10%? I don't know. What would it be? I'd have to do the
you're asking me
math.
to do math on
Yes,
live TV.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll get some kid in here with that
1/6,
Yeah, one
whatever was-
common core. And then he'll have, all right, it's 350
No,
show
one
up.
eighth. What is
Oh,
1/8?
is that what it is?
12.5%.
Yeah.
Percent.
Yeah, but then he'll have like, this weird numbers and letters, and it's like,
My
what are you
producer
doing?
in my ear says it's 12.5%.
Yes. Yeah, we need the micro, the speaker things in our ears to have the outside help us. But yeah, no, I think we have an opportunity, and then we also elect the treasurer. That's constitutional bound.
Yep.
And the Secretary of State, which I did not realize, Bill Gardner's been there 14 years. He's
40.
4-0. He's the longest running Secretary of State in history
It's very interesting.
in the country.
Yeah. And so what happens in the State House, and you can watch all this on video on the internet.
Yes.
If you're ever interested, whenever the House is in session,
Oh yeah, I should bring in the links for that.
yeah, you can at your desk at work or at home, you can watch
Yeah.
what's happening in the State House.
Yeah.
And some of it's a little dry and drawn out, but there are some interesting moments that happen.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting moments today, other than the governor and the executive council giving a speech and kind of swearing us in.
Yes.
So then we had the joint session,
Yeah.
which is today's the only day. Is it today the only day that happens? I forget.
No, they could have a joint session a couple times through the
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I seem to remember a couple
for other items.
other items.
And I
So-
can't remember what they were, but
Joint session is when the Senate comes into the House chamber
by invitation.
by invitation.
We
from
have
the
to vote
Speaker.
'em in.
Yeah, and then the Senate and the House together elect the treasurer and the attorney general.
Yes.
And sergeant at arms. No.
No, the House
does
elects
sergeant.
the Sergeant of Arms and the
So it's
clerk.
those two, attorney general. So Bill Gardner was reelected for his 21st term,
Yes, so he will serve 42 years when he's
which is really interesting, and he's very knowledgeable.
on the election laws and everything else.
Yeah, I mean the few interactions I've had with him, he seems very knowledgeable. But I hear, by reputation, he's very knowledgeable.
Yeah. But you know what I was really shocked over, Keith, was when Speaker Jasper goes, who wants to say yay to vote for Secretary of Gardner, and everybody says yay, and then he says nay, and he picks up the gavel like, okay, we're unanimous.
No, and who's going to say nay?
Well, that's it. And a Representative Roger, I could hear her, nay, and I'm like, whoa. So John Hunt sits over by her, and I look over. I said, who is that? And I thought it was her. Catherine Rogers. She's not happy because of the election, or election laws. She doesn't want them to change. She likes the Massachusetts people coming up here voting.
Oh, I see. So that's one of the issues that we're going to address this next
Yes.
term is like election law reform to try
Yeah.
to stop people being bussed in here from other states, possibly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Which I think is a good thing. And I was surprised when Secretary of State Gardner mentioned that in his acceptance speech. He says, thank you. And, what was it? 24 years ago, we told the feds to kiss off, and we didn't want to do motor voter, which I quite don't understand what motor voter is, but it's
Motor voter is when, and I've been getting emails about this. It's making voter registration automatic when you get your driver's license.
oh.
So
How many states do it?
I don't know off the top of my head. I think
Some do.
10 or so. I'm not really positive, but and there's pluses and minuses. I mean, to me, if you're going to vote, you should be informed.
Yes.
And so if it's that extra step of going to register to vote, if you can't do that minor step, then how informed of a voter are you going to be? Right?
Exactly.
And it's participatory government, but we need to be informed about the issues to some degree. I mean, that's really everyone's civic duty, is to know what they're voting for, and not just
Yeah.
not just going off of the nasty commercials on TV.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's two sides to that issue, I think.
Yeah. So I guess we're going to end up, what they're looking at, and of course things can change up there. What they're looking at is a 30-day registration. So if you live in the state, you have to prove that you've been here 30 days.
Okay.
I think we're going to do more on the valid ID, like a New Hampshire valid ID, because the current law is if you have a Massachusetts, Connecticut, California license, as long as it's a valid ID, you can vote here in New Hampshire.
Right.
And they want to do away with that. And then something about domicile, that if you are allowed to stay at your house or your place of living, what's over your head, more than 6 months, then you can vote here. And what they're
6 months out of the year.
Out of the year.
So a majority of the year.
Yes, you have to be here. If not, if you're more than 6 months somewhere else, then you really should be voting there, which I agree with.
Yeah, and certainly not in both places.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, but what they're looking at is the college kids.
Yeah.
College kids, especially in Plymouth, New Hampshire, have destroyed that town because the selectmen, which I hope our selectmen isn't smart enough, and most of them aren't. Nothing against you guys, but it is what it is.
Is there a college in Goffstown?
Yes, we got St. A's.
Oh, St. A's.
And they vote here.
Yeah.
And the problem is up in Plymouth, the selectman knows how to rally those kids.
Okay.
Hey, we want this new rails to trails or new fire station.
The red light for the crossing, the street crossing?
So they get the the $735,000 for that.
Wow.
But they get the kids to come down and vote that in, and then all the town people there that I know a few of, they're screaming saying, if you look at the numbers, the actual town voters voted it down. It's the college that got it voted in.
Wow.
But we got to pay the tab because they're going home to mommy.
Right.
Yep. And that's what we need to stop, that kind of abuse from the voters of the colleges.
Well, it could drown out, like you said, people that live in town, all their lives and are here and
Yes.
part of the town.
Yeah, because that's what our selectmen here in
swamped.
Goffstown could do is, they could say, hey, go up and, we want this for our town, we want all these welfare housing or whatever they want to build.
Right.
And they could go up and get the college kids to come down and vote on the warrant article, and boop, it's a done deal. We would be drowned out. I mean, we do have enough residents here where possibly we could still beat the college kids, but like Plymouth, I mean, it's a big college.
Yeah.
And it's a small town. Goffstown, I think, has 18,500, about 11,000 voters. I mean, we could still possibly win. So maybe that's why they don't do it, is they looked at the numbers.
Yeah, it's an interesting issue because you don't want to stifle democracy, but it also has to be fair.
Yes.
So I think what's going to happen this coming year is we're going to get some election law reform.
Yeah.
But it has to be carefully vetted, because whatever gets passed is going to be challenged in court, and probably all the way to the state Supreme Court.
Yes.
So we, whatever the House does, it should be fairly bulletproof, right? Because it's going to be challenged.
Well, if we look at other states, why can't we look at other states and say, what did you do?
Yeah.
To pass, the courts, the challenges.
So it's like threading the needle, right? How do you
Exactly
not stifle people's democratic involvement, but still have fair results that reflect the will of the people, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it'll be good. And now, where are you on constitutional carry, which I'm pretty sure I know where you are.
I voted for it, yeah.
Yeah, so it looks like we're going to get that. And for the few people that don't understand what constitutional carry is, Vermont's had it for over 300 years. Well before they were even a state.
Right.
They allow you to carry a sidearm, concealed or open, without a license. Where New Hampshire says you can carry an open gun on your hip with no license, but once you put a coat on it over it because you're cold in the winter.
Yeah, which is silly. Or you get in your car.
Yeah, or you get in your car, then you have to have a concealed license, which is permission from the local police or selectmen, depending on the town you live in.
Right.
Their argument, the left, the Bloomberg folks, they say if you do this in New Hampshire, there's going to be on every main street right here in Goffstown, New Boston, there's going to be duels, and
It's going to be the Wild West.
Yes,
Yeah.
there'll be dead people everywhere.
It doesn't work that way.
No, Maine has. I mean, Vermont's never done it. I think there's 11 states now that have it. Maine passed it last October, and I keep looking at the papers and the newspaper. I've never seen a dead person yet. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just what Bloomberg's making up and lying to us.
They play. It's a political football, right? So gun rights are political football, and the Bloomberg crowd plays on people's fears, but they use it to gain political power, right?
Yes.
Like, to me, and this is the way I think about it, is you and I and everyone at home are, we own ourselves. Our life is our property.
Yes.
And what a gun does is it gives you the ability, it's an equalizing force. So if you think about like a 7-year-old getting attacked by someone the size of Mike Tyson, that, a firearm, not promoting 7-year-olds to have firearms, but that, the unequal nature of the force, the firearm equalizes it. And so that's, the purpose of allowing people to have that protective, the defensive force. Defensive is the key word. I know there's offensive force. I can rob a bank with a gun, or I can protect my family with a gun, right?
Yes.
So if you're never going to get the guns out of the hands of criminals. So you're just making gun control only makes the obedient part of society, the law-abiding part of society. It only takes away their right to defend themselves.
Yes.
And so the more you want law-abiding people to be defended, and that will lower crime.
Oh, absolutely. That's why we're one of the safest states in the nation.
Yeah, we are. Do you know who Evan Knappen is?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's
I'd love to have him on my show.
You should have him. Yeah, he's a really good.
Yeah.
So we have a nice monthly meeting in New Boston, and he came and gave a talk.
Oh, he's good.
He is really good. And so what he was saying is, he thinks New Hampshire's going to pass constitutional carry, which really means you don't have to ask permission and get a permit to conceal carry.
Yes.
That's what it means.
Yeah.
But it doesn't give you reciprocity with other states. And
well, that's what I like about the New Hampshire constitutional.
So you can still get the permit if you want.
Yes.
Right.
Because I go to Florida, occasionally, and
Right.
I carry my sidearm down there. As a matter of fact, most states on the way down, except for Mass and New Jersey, don't allow me to carry my gun. So I put it in my locker, my lock box in the trunk. It was separated with the bullets in case Massachusetts police are watching me. And then I put the federal law that says I have safe passage through their state as long as I'm not staying in their state.
I see.
Yeah, there's a federal law that says that I can travel through their state with my gun as long as I'm not staying there.
You get a little tunnel of your constitutional rights to go from one end to the other.
Yeah, I'm in a little bubbling through and going, and I'm telling my wife, I said, if we get stopped, you do not consent to a search. Because I said, we're going to be thrown in jail, and and everybody knows that. But then once they read the law, they're going to they're going to release me. But I don't want the inconvenience, so don't consent to any searches. And I would never admit that I had a gun in the trunk.
So we were having a discussion with one of our fellow state reps. I don't know if you were there, but it was about why do you care about your Fourth Amendment right? If you have nothing to hide, why do you care? That argument.
Yeah. What's the Fourth Amendment for the viewers?
Fourth Amendment is it's to prevent unlawful search and seizure.
Yes.
So the cops can't knock on your door and say, hey, we want to look around. You got to let us in. They need to have probable cause of a crime, and they have to describe in a warrant
to a judge
and get approval from the judge, and then they have the permission. So there's it's a check on overreaching authority.
But we do have a rep that disagrees with that.
That disagrees, but there's a great example, and I think this rep would get the example that you just gave. If you're traveling through Massachusetts, and you don't want to allow search of your vehicle because you have a firearm, even though you're within your rights,
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen, you know, in enemy territory south of the border. You know?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Well, you know, because I think it was Pennsylvania was the first state I was allowed to carry, because I didn't go through New York. I went up through 81. Is it 84? You know, the Tappan Z and up and through that way.
We go that way
I was,
too.
Yeah, I was
Yep.
towing a trailer.
Cool.
And you know, the second I got into a safe state, I went to my locker and thank you.
Yeah.
And they carried it all the way down to Florida, and I was safe, and my wife was safe, and we protected our property like we should.
Yeah, so another analogy that I've heard people use about why would you carry, it's kind of like the analogy is to a fire extinguisher. Like, you never know when you're going to need a fire extinguisher.
That's right.
And you know, maybe you'll never need it,
Yes.
but you'll be glad to have it when you need it.
Yeah,
you
knock
know?
on wood, I
Yeah.
have fire extinguishers in my house, and I've never used them.
Right.
Just like my firearm.
Yeah.
And I pray I never do.
Right.
You know, and I've told the viewers this before, you know, Keith, I'm sure you got a few crazy gun nuts friends, but you know, people think I'm one of them, and I'm not. But they say, well, if somebody's lugging my TV out, they're getting a bullet. And it's like, look, if they're lugging your TV out and they're heading to the door, I'm not going to be happy, but I can go to Walmart, Sears, Best Buy and buy a new TV.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want the paperwork.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want the headaches of shooting somebody. You know, but if I'm upstairs barricaded in my room and they're coming up the stairs, I'm going to tell them, look, I'm in here, I'm armed, get out of here, just leave us alone.
Right. And the difference is your life is in danger.
Yes.
So one of the things Evan Knappen, attorney Evan Knappen, you can look him up on the internet. One of the things that he says is the courts will always value life over property. So that he gives you like some key.
Same similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he gives you some key things to exercise your rights in a responsible way, and it's really cool to hear. And that was one that I can recall. Yeah.
Well, I really should have them on.
And another one is you can never be the instigator. And the example that he gave is
Yes.
if let's say you're walking down the street and there's gang members on the other side of the street, and they say, you know, they call out to you and mock you or tease you, and you cross the street to confront them, and then you shoot somebody. Then you get into a tussle and you shoot somebody.
Yeah.
You're the instigator at that point.
Yes,
And
I agree.
You're losing the minute you cross the street. You're losing your right to defend yourself because you're you're causing the instigation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I support that.
Yeah.
You know, because that is. You know, because you should just walk away, and but if they ran across the street at you, then you.
Yeah, if you're minding your own business and they attack you, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you feel emboldened because you are carrying,
Yeah.
and then something happens, it's your fault. So
Yes. Yeah.
that seems like a reasonable way to think about it.
Well, the other group I want to have in here too is I would like to have Evan in is the Women's Defense League.
Yeah,
You know.
Susan Olson.
Yeah, have Susan in,
And,
Kimberly
Michelle-
Moore, Michelle,
Yeah.
Lavelle, I think her last name is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was just talking to Michelle and Susan yesterday. They're forming some kind of firearms alliance that they want to.
Oh.
They want to get all the gun groups together, kind of work.
Yeah.
At least working in with common goals.
Yes, yeah, I think so, because we do have other gun bills coming up.
Yeah.
And I think that, that it would be good to have, because we have many gun groups.
Right.
And if we had like one or two voices of all of those gun groups and still have all the gun groups show up, I think that would be very helpful.
One of the things that annoys me, and maybe we can switch to another topic if you'd like, but one of the things that annoys me is when politicians, they pander to the gun. They know the Second Amendment is a very
Yes.
powerful lobby,
Yeah.
the NRA and all that, but they'll talk about hunting.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they'll focus on
Yeah.
that the Second Amendment, they try to conflate the Second Amendment with hunting, with
Yeah.
the right to hunt. And the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting.
No, it doesn't.
It's hunting is a byproduct,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Well, I hate to say, but yeah, we come to the end of the show because I only wanted to do a short show today. Both of us have.
That went too fast.
It did. It went very fast. I'll have to have you back because
Cool.
we got a big dinner date at the Radisson that we have to head
The
to.
victory dinner or something.
Yes,
right?
yeah. Governor Sununu is going to be there,
That'll
or
be fun.
Governor-elect Sununu.
Yep.
So I hate to cut the show short, but thank you for coming on.
Thanks, John, for having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And until next week, I'll talk to you later. Have a good week now. Bye.